Hey, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. As we sit 93 days, 11 hours, 3 minutes, and 50 seconds away from kickoff of the Dallas Cowboys versus the Rams. It's coming. It's coming, guys. I know it seems like a long ways away, but it's coming real quick. Let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football guys. Wake up, guys. Wake up. There we go. So, we're kind of in the lull before the storm. We know we don't have OTAs and mini camps to talk about like we normally do, or even the weight room and things like that. The NFL is continuing virtual reality workouts, and basically at the moment, and things are going to be changing and evolving. We're getting little tad bits of information from the NFL on the way they're planning on proceeding. Currently, players will probably be able to start coming in around the 15th of July to start conditioning, with training camps actually opening July 28th, around in that time. It's no longer the window of you start training camp 2 weeks before your first preseason game. It's basically everybody starting about the same time. We've heard that the NFL may be down to two preseason games per team. And that to me puts in doubt, of course, the Hall of Fame game, which would be in the first week of August. So we're still kind of in this whole uncharted territory. But I'll say this is probably going to be more like the last time the collective bargaining agreement was done, because there were no mini camps and OTAs and things like that. It ended up being in a compressed preseason, basically, as far as working out without the OTAs and stuff. The only game that was missed was the Hall of Fame game. So we'll see how this all goes. And I'm going to say this, and some people will say, there's nothing to it. You can believe that there's nothing to the coronavirus and things, but yet numbers are going back up. And some states have started opening up and don't require you to wear a mask. You can start to see that the numbers are really getting high again. I hear Arizona, I hear Texas is actually having some of their highest days. I know Montgomery, Alabama, where my sister lives, that the hospitals are at capacities. So listen, still keep your social distance. I get it. Everybody wants to get out. Everybody wants to get back to normalcy and all that. But see, all of us have a hand in helping to stop this and control this. A mask is not a whole lot to ask. You wear a mask, it's reducing the odds and the chances of you possibly spreading it to somebody else or somebody else spreading it to you. So I beg you, do that. In my state, we were one of the early states on, like New York and things, that had, it growing rather rapidly. But now it's kind of leveled off, and it's, going back to normal, where we actually have, in businesses, you're required to wear a mask. And it's working. So I would rather everybody err on the side of caution and do the best we can to try and help everybody else. But anyway, on to the Dallas Cowboys. Don't forget, tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, we have our live stream. Be sure to join in. We had a great one on Monday. We didn't have so many trolls on. I think there was something on about the Eagles on TV, so they were probably all occupied. And I'm sure they'll be back because, of course, Philly 500, I haven't even watched this video, but he's got my name in the title. Literally, he just won't leave me alone. And I got to tell you, I think that they're scared. They're worried. Because as we get ready to play this season, what can we expect from the Dallas Cowboys? The Cowboys under Jason Garrett, who, it was crazy that he was 85-67, which is a really good record. So to speak, taking over for a team that had, was doing really well and then dropped off a cliff. This team was literally rebuilt and had success in the regular season. And I dare say that Jason Garrett is like Marty Schottenheimer. Marty Schottenheimer was an incredible coach. His players loved him. They absolutely, positively loved him. Those teams were usually run heavy. When you had guys like Word, Okoye, they were run down your throat teams. They were physical. He had coached some incredible players. like Thomas, the linebacker, who died tragically. They were known for grit. They always stuck together. But the one thing about Marty Schottenheimer was his playoff record was abysmal. 5-13. He could get them to the playoffs, but once they got there, they had no success whatsoever. Jason Garrett, 85-67. It's crazy. Some of the things that happened with the Cowboys that just defied logic. Every time the Cowboys won their season opening game, they never made the playoffs. Every year that they lost it, they made the playoffs. When the natural curve is, generally speaking, when you win your first game, your odds of making the playoffs are that much greater. It just doesn't make sense. When you look at coaches like Pete Carroll, who, if they got a lead at halftime, they're not losing the game. He is like 95% win if I've got a lead at halftime. Jason Garrett, not so much. Not even in the fourth quarter going in having leads. We blew more leads in games. We found ways to lose. But there's an interesting thing about the Cowboys. You know, we had the 8-8, 8-8, and 8-8. Jason Garrett was on the hot seat. And the next year, you go 12-4. We are the catch, no catch away from the NFC Championship game. We looked like we were truly on the upstream. We had, you know, those years of being not a good team, but not a bad team, but all of a sudden we're a good team. And you looked at that and said, okay, they're going to continue to rise. But Tony Romo gets hurt and exposes the problems with the team, that Tony Romo is the offense, that Tony Romo is making shit up to carry the team. It's not the coaching. Whereas other teams would go through, they could lose a quarterback for some games and find ways to win. That same year, the Texans had 3 different starting quarterbacks, including Brandon Wheaton, who carried them into the playoffs. And that was coaching. But like the Cowboys always do, they won that division that year, you know, the year before, 2014. 2015, they go in the basement. 2016, we get Dak Prescott. We win the division. Everything seems to be on the uptick. All of a sudden, hey, the sky's the limit. You got a young team. And we kind of step back, 9-7. Not an awful year, but exposed, again, a lot of weaknesses on the team. Losing a player here and there made all the difference in the world. The next year, we were bound. We win the NFC East. Beat the Eagles twice. End up 5-1 in our division. Boom. Seems to be the Cowboys are back. And then, 2019, 8-8. So, do you notice the pattern here? 2014, division champs. 2015, down year. 2016, division champs. 2017, down year. 2018, division champs. 2019, down year. If that curve or that graph continues, this should be a division championship season. You can't really look at the Redskins and say they're ready to challenge for our division. That's not to say it doesn't happen. We've seen teams go from worst to first. The year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they were in the basement. So anything's possible, and more times than not, you would actually have a guy in the basement, believe it or not, win the division the next year than the guy who won the division winning the division the next year. See, the NFC East is crazy. Nobody has been a repeat champion since the 2002, 2003, and 2004 season. That was the Eagles winning 3 of them back to back to back. Since that time, it's always been a different team. It didn't matter if you won the Super Bowl or the division or anything else. You weren't winning the division the next year, Eagles. So you've got that. And I look at the Cowboys team. You honestly look at the Dallas Cowboys. Sometimes you see a team that's 8-8, and you see that they played to the level of the people that they had on the roster. They played to their potential. You looked at them and said they just don't have the talent to compete, and they ended up 8-8. Then there's other teams that end up 8-8, and you look at them and you say they underperformed. That they're better than what that record shows that they are, or at least they have talent, or should be perceived to play better. It's not like you looked at it and said, well, Zeke Elliott had an incredible year, so, he can't do any better. You don't look at Amari Cooper and say he had an incredible year, he can't do any better. You don't look at D-Law and say, my God, he's at the pinnacle of what he can do on this team. You look at Van Der Esch, who was injured most of the season. You don't look at that and say he gave everything that we can't expect anything more. But you look around this team, it's just some of the players that we have. If they get back to their way they've played or close to it, Amari Cooper, who doesn't disappear during away games and isn't hampered by injuries. If Zeke Elliott has a little bit of that burst on some of those plays that he gets downfield further. You look at maybe Blake Jarwin maybe being a little bit better than Jason Witten. You look at D-Law getting more than 5 sacks. You look at Van Der Esch coming back healthy. You look at these guys collectively and you say, yeah, they got a little bit more oomph. They got a little bit more room that they can play better. And then you add to that some of the talent like a CeeDee Lamb. You add to that some of the talent like maybe an Aldon Smith that may give you more than you expect. You add to that a Gerald McCoy, who's a man who's already taking a leadership role and is looking at this that this is not about the money right now. This is about me finishing off my career with a bang. That's why I feel good about where this team is direction-wise, having a coach who has experience, having coaches who have been around the NFL and have seen different ideas, schemes, and things like that, that aren't so tunnel visioned by everything Dallas Cowboys from the 90s, that you now have an NFL world view of ways of attacking and that you have various parts that can get you into different mismatches. And I think that the Dallas Cowboys, this is my prediction on the season. It's a tough schedule. Well, it's not that tough. But you never know who was good last year that's dog doo this year and who was dog doo last year that's good. It's always still a tough schedule in the NFC East. We're always pounding and beating on each other. But I think the Cowboys will win the division, and I think they'll go 11-5. And that's my prediction for the season this year. Now, I'm going to hear all kinds of Eagle fans out there that are going to go ahead and talk and everything else. I'm going to have some Cowboy fans that are going to hem and haw and say, we're going to be 16-0. And I got some that are going to say, we're mediocre or need to blow up the team. But you know what? Opinions are like assholes. We all have one. And that's my opinion. And you could like it or not like it. That's on you. But in the meantime, I got some work to do. I got some cabinets and things I got to get building up in here. I got a bar to build. I got a desk to build. I got a dresser to build. I got racks for you guys to build. And it's time for me to go to work. I hope everybody has a great day. Be safe out there. Work hard. And come up with solutions. I will see you guys tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern. Peace.